Alright guys, welcome back to another one. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth today. As we know, not too long ago it came out on PC, and this is turning out to be one of the probably best PC ports that Square Enix have ever done, which is a pretty surprising thing given Square Enix's track records with previous PC ports. This one, for the most part, it's fairly well optimized. I understand that right now some AMD users are having some issues, and Square Enix have actually acknowledged this. Surely there will be a hotfix or something coming in due time. Pretty impressive port nonetheless. It's a way to experience a game that is already drop dead gorgeous on the PlayStation 5 in its absolute full glory, no bars held. So, shout out to Square for doing that. But, however, we do have something that has been making the rounds recently, and it's something I felt the need to kind of clarify a little bit because it has been quite the discussion within the community, and that's this tweet that came from Icon Era saying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth torrents hit nearly 200,000 within hours of launch, only 20,000 playing on Steam. Now, obviously, this caught the wind of a lot of people, even though there's only 1k likes here. 600,000 people ended up seeing this, and it obviously, as it goes, like a lot of garbage stems through Twitter and then outreaches within articles. So like a lot of outlets end up using stuff that literally has no core source, and it turns into what people are led to believe is real news. The source of this tweet right here that Icon Era is using is literally just a Steam forum of a person called Grayson. Grayson has no source here, like literally the mayonnaise bottle is empty, mentioning 173,000 torrent downloads, it's over, 20k legit players, it's over, Square Enix will never make a PC port ever again. And literally, if you go through the comment section of this post over on Steam, most people are like, oh my god, like, well that sucks. There are only a small fraction of people being like, yeah, you're just pulling this out of your ass, right? Like, this has been sitting between your gooch for the past 5 minutes. I've been doing some rigorous research behind where the news of 200,000 torrents came from, because on the day Icon Era put this post out, it was absolutely making rounds. And I wanted to look into, exactly where is this information actually coming from. And after doing a few hours of research, this is literally it. Like, this Steam post right here is the source. Now, the reason why I think this was kind of blown out of proportion a little bit was because Rebirth actually got cracked. A pirated version was created within hours of the game releasing on PC. It happened insanely quick, and this was done by Fairlight, a pirate group that has grown a pretty massive reputation within that side of things, but they ended up getting this out so fast. Now, Rebirth doesn't have any DRM backs behind it. A lot of people were really thrilled to find out that Rebirth, in fact, doesn't have de novo, which, as we know, this is kind of becoming a common thing nowadays where games will launch with de novo. Now, even if you're not a yo-ho-ho 69 bottles of rum type of guy, you probably don't like de novo either. It doesn't necessarily have so much to do with the piracy side of things. If a game doesn't have this form of DRM installed within it, it absolutely makes cracking a game and creating a pirated version a hell of a lot easier, and it comes out a lot quicker. But the main reason why gamers absolutely hate this form of DRM is because, for one, it taxes performance. There are various tests out there that actually display that up to 50% of a PC game's performance can potentially be sapped with de novo running in the background. And not just that, but it's, DRM, so like, you need to have an internet connection in order to play the game. Makes sense for a multiplayer game. Most of us are fine with anti-cheat and whatnot, but when it comes to a single-player game, DRM kind of sucks. Now, most of us understand why DRM is put in place, right? To stop this kind of a thing happening. It would suck if there was a situation where there were more people stealing a game than people actually buying it. That means that the devs are losing out hard. And that's pretty much what this tweet here from Icon Era was suggesting, which I think it's pretty clear to say here, this is just a complete fabrication. There is no true way to actually figure out how many people have currently pirated Rebirth. Now, you could check out some of the various torrent sites out there, like of course Pirate Bay, and look at both the seeders and leeches to get an idea as to what's currently going on, but there's no real accurate way to actually figure out how many people have pirated a certain game. Because this game was cracked within hours of the official release, it means that not just the Fairlight version, but multiple other cracked versions of Rebirth will exist. These numerous versions will then be distributed to a ton of different file and torrent hosting websites. It's impossible to know a total number. However, the game did get cracked incredibly fast, and news about this spread very wide. So yeah, I would say that there is quite a big number here of people that absolutely pirated Rebirth. That much is absolute, but in the sense of more people stealing the game than actually buying the game, no, I don't think so. And from the stats we currently have right now, Rebirth is actually performing incredibly well, especially for a Square Enix PC port. If we look at the all-time peak of Rebirth, it's hit 40.5k, which is actually a record breaker for any Final Fantasy PC port. I believe this is the best all-time peak for a Square Enix game on Steam overall. Correct me if I'm wrong, we at least know though that this is a record breaker for Final Fantasy, and even with what I'm looking at right now, like it's currently 10:30 where I am, there are 19,333 people playing, with 27,000 people playing over the past 24 hours. That's some pretty great stuff to see. A website known as VG Insights can also give us a rough estimate as to how many people have actually purchased a game through Steam. It's not spot on, it's not completely accurate, but again, rough estimate, it's displaying about 522,000 units sold. Now, if we compare that to the previous Final Fantasy game that came to PC, Final Fantasy 16, which released in September of last year, that sold 564,000. Again, these are not accurate. It could be 100,000 higher, 100 or 150,000 lower than the numbers given here, but it at least tells you that Rebirth, right now, a game that's only been on PC for like the past week or so, is performing incredibly well. It's safe to say that this PC port for Square is finally a win. Now, I have to say, it is a little bit worrying that the game did get cracked as fast as it did. I really hope that this doesn't convince Square to start putting DRMs into their games like Denuvo. I mean, especially Denuvo. That would absolutely suck. I'd hate to see a case of Kingdom Hearts 4 launching with it. Generally, when a game does come packaged with Denuvo, it ends up getting removed about a month or two later, because in case you guys don't know, it actually costs somewhere around $25,000 US to run this DRM every single month for the devs, for the company. So if this was the case for Square Enix, they'd be paying out 25 grand a month just to have this on one of their games. This is why a lot of companies opt out of this DRM after a couple or a few months has passed by. So if you've seen some of the headlines circulating recently suggesting that basically Square Enix have failed with this PC port and that more people are stealing it than actually playing it, no, it's just some dude, Grayson, over on Steam, pulling pubes out of his ass. So hats off to Square Enix for making a pretty fantastic PC port, along with launching a PC game that doesn't have Denuvo in it, because Final Fantasy 16 actually did, and it received quite a bit of flack for it. So this is probably why we're not seeing it here with Rebirth. But at the same time too, it has suffered an incredibly quick crack versus Final Fantasy 16 that took quite a bit longer because of that DRM. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's video. Be sure to slap that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything going on here. Big thank you to my wonderful patrons. I appreciate the ongoing support. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day, and we'll talk again real soon.